Hello there, guys. This is Traveling with the Recios. This is Colombia Q&A edition. So basically, every time we travel to a country, we're going to try to make a Q&A edition episode in order to answer some questions that you guys might have, questions that we had before traveling to Colombia. So we don't have that big of a follower, so we kind of ask our own questions right now. Later on, when we have a bigger followers, we'll do a Q&A.
The questions that you guys submit. So.
Yeah, before a couple days, and then we'll post them. So with that said, here are the questions.
Number 1, is Colombia safe for travelers? You want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one, and I'll let you answer that as well at the end. But overall, guys, I felt super safe in Colombia. We traveled all over the coffee region. We went to Medellin. We went to, some of the not so pretty areas in Medellin. The, Comuna 13 and the Centro. And then, like I said, we traveled all throughout the coffee region. And I did not once felt, weird that I was in danger. Somebody was following me. Somebody was looking at me weird. I felt super, super safe throughout the whole trip. So
I felt super safe. We always had our belongings with us. We never felt that anyone was looking at us weird. So it was really good. I'm going to share some tips. So number 1, stay in well-known and populated areas. So we would always kind of do our little research on Google Maps before venturing out anywhere. We avoided like places where we knew that weren't visited by locals or tourists. We didn't get inside tiny little neighborhoods where people lived or anything like that. So
and if you're gonna go out at night, which you're gonna go out at night, you're not gonna once it's nighttime, you're not just gonna go to your Airbnb or hotel and be there all night. You're gonna go out. So just go to very populated areas at night, very touristy areas, and you're gonna be completely fine. Also, don't wear watches. If you're gonna have your phone, everybody has phone nowadays. Don't take it out too much. But basically, when we travel, we don't wear none of our rings, nothing flashy. So we're very simple. The way we dress is very simple. We don't attract, attention. So
no designer purses, nothing like that. So another tip is use Uber instead of taxi. So I feel like that gives us a little bit more control over who's picking us up. We see the ratings of the driver. We see that they have comments and things like that. So it's not just randomly getting in a taxi with a stranger, which is fine sometimes. But if we can avoid it, we always choose Uber. Okay. And
Uber also has now this feature, which I don't know if they're using here in the U.S., but I know some areas in Central America and South America, when you get inside the Uber, they ask you for a PIN. They ask you for like a number PIN, and the person will put it in there, and that just to verify that you're getting in the right car and that's the right person. So that's a great feature Uber has in place, and Uber is super cheap in Colombia. So
okay. Number 2, don't visit multiple regions all at once on one trip. So take that one. So
guys, Colombia is a huge country. Okay, if you look at it in a map, Colombia is, comparing to any country in Central America, Costa Rica, Panama, El Salvador, Colombia is literally the size. Those countries are about a quarter of the size of Colombia. So it's impossible to visit multiple regions unless you're doing like a month or 2-month trip. So you're gonna have to most likely go on different trips and visit different areas, different trips, so you'll be able to enjoy. So you're not going crazy, going to, for example, the coast in Cartagena for 2-3 days, and then just going to the mountain region, the Andean region, and Medellin. It's just not worth it. Focus on one area. Okay, for example, this is actually our second trip to Colombia. The first trip was when the kids were smaller, the first time they were out of the country, and we visited the coastal area, Cartagena, which we had a trip on its own. We had an amazing time. We went there for like 5 days, and we said we got to come back to Colombia. So this time we went for 10 days, and we visited Medellin and all the coffee region. So like I said, and there's other regions that we can still probably visit in the future. So it's not worth doing it all on one trip, unless, like I said, unless you're going and backpacking and going for a month or 2 months and you have the time. So definitely don't do that.
Okay, so do you need a tour company? In our opinion, you don't. Of course, if you speak Spanish, that's obviously a plus. However, a lot of restaurants and activity centers and places where they sell tickets for excursions, they speak a little bit of English. So in our case, we prefer to do everything ourselves, do our research, Google Maps, Google, we look at all the reviews and the ratings and kind of do research on what we're going to need for each activity. So I don't feel like you need a tour company in Colombia.
And with a tour company, when traveling with kids, it makes it harder because you're on their time, you're not on your own time, and you can't really rent a car. When you're with a tour company, you have to be kind of like in a van, stuck with them the whole time. And with kids, I don't think that's a good option. So having no tour company gives you the flexibility to do a lot of things. Freedom, and time is everything when you're on vacation, because there's a time frame and you need to try to do as much as you can in that little bit of time.
And if you want to take a break, you can take a break. If
you want to chill a day, on your own time. You can just chill and do lay back. So all right, guys, so how can I stay connected while in Colombia? So you can use eSIM cards. Basically, they're apps on your phone. Back in the day, you had to go to the country and then have an unlocked phone and buy a SIM card every country you went to, and you had to buy a kind of like a data plan. But nowadays, there's eSIMs, electronics, and you basically buy a plan, and there's apps like Airelo, Nomad, Olafly, and you can stay connected. There's also Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi everywhere in Colombia. Bars, restaurants, your Airbnb. It's all for free, so I don't think you guys should have an issue with that. And what we do basically is we pay $10 a day a daily pass. We have AT&T, and that covers me for the whole day.
Yeah, and our trips are usually about 10 days, 15 days max, so it works out for us. We're not there for a whole month. So.
Yeah, and the thing with that about eSIMs is you're limited to what you buy, the data that you buy. It's not unlimited. So, for example, I drive a lot and I need a lot of data. So for $10 a day, you can't beat that. And I think it's, you don't pay no more than $100 for the whole month if it's over 10 days. So it works out great.
What is the local currency and how can I exchange money?
All right, guys. So the local currency obviously is Colombian pesos. Right now, a dollar to a Colombian peso is about 4,000 Colombian pesos. So yes, Colombia is extremely affordable, guys. You can do a lot, not with a dollar, obviously, but you can do a lot with obviously exchanging dollars to Colombian pesos. So basically, you have the exchange stores, which I don't recommend because they do charge a lot of fees. Okay, you can use your credit card. Basically, not everywhere, but most restaurants will accept credit cards and stores. But still, Colombia is still a very cash-driven country. So you need cash. You need to take out cash. And honestly,
all the street vendors, they take cash.
And a lot of restaurants don't take credit cards.
Or the credit cards are down, which we encountered.
Yes.
So always good to have money.
Always good to have money. So whenever you go over there, there's these red ATMs called Daviviendas. And basically these ATMs are for free. They don't charge you any fees. Obviously, make sure your bank card, whatever fees they charge you, which Capital One, I'm not being sponsored by Capital One or anything, but Capital One does not charge me any fees for transaction withdrawals. So just these Daviviendas ATMs, they're for free. So you don't have no fees, no exchange, like rates, and they're everywhere. So that's super good. Honestly, like the only country that I've been to where ATMs are for free, but make sure they're Davivienda, the red ones. Okay. Alrighty. So are there any health considerations or COVID restrictions?
Okay, at this time, there are no vaccinations needed.
Woohoo!
Yes, especially with kids. And there are no COVID restrictions. Not at the airport, not in the country, not at restaurants, nowhere in public places.
Thank God.
So water, we always stick to bottled water, especially outside of the major cities. We're a little bit paranoid. We travel with kids, so even in the major cities, I personally always like to buy bottled water. It's the first thing we do. Okay, and for altitude sickness in high altitude areas like Bogota, acclimatization is important.
Medellin too. Medellin's pretty high up there.
In the mountainous region, we felt it a little bit, but we obviously always stay hydrated. We rest, we sleep. All those things help. And then for the mountain region, for the driving, I always take
Motion
sickness pills for Grace, especially for our daughter. She always gets car sick, so that's definitely a must after having breakfast. So especially you don't want to take them on an empty stomach. So
what should I pack for a trip to Colombia?
Okay, so we visited Colombia in February, right?
Yeah.
So
it's the dry season, technically.
Yeah. So what did we take on our trip? Very light, breathable clothing, rain gear, just in case. We only used our rain gear once, and a light jacket because it does get a little cool at night. We took a lot of, just for the kids, leggings, things that were just comfortable for hiking, for walking a lot, because you're going to be walking. You don't want to feel like hot in jeans or pants. So things that just feel light. Comfortable shoes, of course, for the walking, for the hiking, sunscreen, and a hat. It's very hot in Colombia, especially during the day. So
Yes.
hat is a must.
That was
and
very,
sunscreen.
very surprising that
Yeah.
you're in the mountainous region and it gets very hot during the day, like extremely hot.
It gets a little cool in the mornings and a little cool at night, but during the day it's really hot. So make sure you take your sunscreen and hat. Insect repellent, especially in the jungle and coastal region. So February wasn't bad with the mosquitoes.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
At all. So what else? Basic medical kit, any personal medications, as well as first aid supplies. So I know that we can get most medications there, but traveling with kids, I always like to be prepared. So I take Motrin, Tylenol, motion sickness pills, Benadryl in case of an allergic reaction. We're trying a lot of new foods, so you never know. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so just pack light, guys. And I personally love to pack light because we move around a lot. We move from place to place around a lot, and the lighter you pack, the easier it is to move around. I just can't imagine if I have like a check-in bag and moving to so many places like we do. It'll be impossible, and especially with a small car. It's impossible to have so many things.
So for us four, we usually take 3 carry-ons and our personal bag, and that's where we put the medications, all that. So we pack very smart, so that we don't overpack, but we still take everything that we need. So
yes.
So what should I know about transportation in Colombia?
All right, guys. So obviously in cities, use or register taxis. Okay, make sure to register. Make sure in the front it says a taxi, and sometimes they have their license information in the front. And just Uber is accepted almost everywhere. Uber and Cabify is the other app that they use for. It's kind of like an Uber. It's just what they use over there in Colombia, Cabify. And there's a lot of local transportation in Medellin that we felt super safe. We took the cable cars, cable cars. We took the metro. We didn't take the buses because we didn't need to, because we were in Ubers the whole time. But we felt super safe.
They're very clean.
Very, very clean. And they're super cheap. It's like 70 cents per person. And you can hop on and hop off from cable car to the metro to the bus. 70 cents. You can't beat
affordable.
that. Very affordable. And they take you basically everywhere in the city.
Okay, so for some car rental and driving questions. Okay, how was the driving in Colombia?
The driving was actually surprisingly it was good. It wasn't bad. Driving in Medellin, I try to avoid driving in big cities always, but sometimes you need to get out of the city. For example, we went to Guatapé, the Big Rock, and then obviously when we were leaving Medellin, we were coming back to Medellin. So yes, there's a lot of traffic, but it wasn't that bad, honestly. You just got
motorbikes.
A lot of motorbikes. That's the only thing. You just got to worry about the motorbikes. And if you're gonna make a left or right turn, do it way before. Do it plan for it, and make sure you have a co-pilot there to tell you, who's on your left or right, because there are motorbikes everywhere. But it's doable. Okay.
Definitely doable. Okay. How much did you pay for your car rental?
It was actually pretty cheap. It was $282 for 8 days. Always take pictures of your car before leaving the car rental. Take videos before leaving the car rental place, because they do check everything when you come back. I mean everything, okay? And if you don't have insurance, in which Colombia does not, it's not mandatory to buy an insurance. Some countries you have to buy insurance when you get there, and it's mandatory. You don't have an option. It's part of the rules, but it's not. And we didn't in this trip. So I made sure to take a lot of videos, and thankfully, everything was good, and it was great. $282 for 8 days of driving.
And pretty much like almost new car.
Yeah,
so.
basically, it was a small car,
but it was in really great condition.
Very good condition.
Safe. Okay, do you need a 4x4 or a big car in Colombia, especially the coffee region?
No, you don't. There's highways everywhere. There's streets everywhere. Some streets, yeah. For example, going to the hot springs, they're, unpaved, little rough unpaved roads, but it's completely doable. You don't need a 4x4. You don't need a big car unless you have a lot of people with you. Exactly. And you don't want a big car because the streets are small, the highways are small, parkings are small, and you want something small and compact, less gas. So the smaller, the better.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. So how affordable is Colombia? How expensive is Colombia?
Colombia is very, very cheap. Okay, your money goes a long way in Colombia. So for accommodations, most budget hotels and hostels cost around $10 to $30 a night. Okay, and luxury hotels can cost you up to starting $70 and up. So extremely affordable. It just depends what you feel comfortable with. We stayed in most Airbnbs, and amazing, beautiful apartments, comfortable. And we spend an average of 30 something.
No, it's like $50, $60 a night, which is super affordable.
Yeah, and they were in very safe neighborhoods, so that's a major factor for us. So we paid a little bit more, but we stayed in very nice places. Food. Street food and local eateries are $2 to $5 per meal. So very cheap. Restaurants could range from $10, the nicer ones, to $20 per meal, okay, and high-end dining, $30 a plate or more, okay. So we love to try local restaurants. So I don't think we paid for any meal that cost $20 a plate.
No, we didn't. Probably our most expensive meal was like $12, $13 per person,
and it was in a restaurant, a fancier restaurant, and the meal.
The meal wasn't good. It was probably one of our worst meals, and I said, no, that's it. Yeah. Let's go back to our traditional local eateries.
Yeah, that's where we have the best food. That's definitely a must. Okay, so for transportation, again, super cheap. Local bus fares are around 70 cents. Taxis and ride sharing $2 to $10, depending how far you're going. And domestic flights, $50 to $100 one way. Okay, and as we spoke before, car rentals, extremely cheap. So that's the option that we prefer because we like to travel on our own terms, stop where we want to, and it's part of the trip, the four of us in the car spending time. So very nice. Okay, and attractions, entrance fees to museums and parks range from $2 to $10. Some of them are actually free. Okay, guided tours and activities, $20 to $100 depending on the experience. Okay, so and for all these attractions, we always check on Google Maps and we check Google reviews to see if it's worth it. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to do for free in Medellin. There's a lot of museums to see for free. There's a lot of places to see for free. So definitely, you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to go to Colombia when it comes to attractions. Yeah. So in total, we spent on this trip around $2,620 in total for a 10-day trip. That's including our flights, rental, food, accommodations
for four people.
So I think that was a very affordable trip.
So 2,620 for 10 days, including flights. Yeah, amazing.
You can't beat that. So we'll definitely be back in Colombia, maybe in the future, a different region. So you will probably see our face again, Colombia. Okay.
What are some tips for traveling on a budget in Colombia?
All right, guys. So you can stay in hostels. Obviously, we're a family, so we kind of try to avoid hostels, even though we've stayed in them before and they've been absolutely amazing.
Great experience.
But budget hotels, Airbnb, Colombia is very affordable, like I said, guys. So you can basically stay in really nice places for super cheap.
Yeah.
Food, eat at local eateries, markets. We love markets because that's where a lot of the good food is. A lot of the good, most authentic food and fresh food are in the market. So that's where we tend to go. Street food as well, and small local restaurants that we always look in Google reviews before, and we definitely hit that. How is tipping handled in Colombia?
Okay, so tipping is not generally accepted in Colombia. In nicer restaurants, there is a 10 to 15% tip that's expected. So most places that we went to were not the places that, the people expected tipping. We would always leave a little something. And then we did go to a few nicer restaurants where the tipping was part of, your bill. So
yeah, part of your bill. But yeah, so tipping is not. Yeah. It's not expected. It's not a thing. Places. And in local places that we go to, you really see that it's not expected at all. So it's okay not to tip. But if you leave something, that's
we always
accepted.
like to tip when we have good service. So we always do leave.
Yes, we do
something.
Appreciate that.
Is the food like in Colombia? Okay, that's a very general question. Let's make it a little more specific. What is the food like in the coffee region?
And in
Medellin, okay? Because we did Cartagena years ago, and the food was completely different. It was like fried fish, arroz con coco, more Caribbean. This is the coffee region, which is completely different.
It's a lot hearty food.
Very hearty. So bandeja paisa, which is the hearty dish that has the rice, the beans, the chicharrón, which is the fried pork. Sometimes it comes with steak or ground beef, right? And a sweet plantain, right? So very hearty, okay? Sometimes we would share a bandeja paisa because it was just too much to eat for one person. Yeah. It had a lot of soups, like ajiaco, very good. Grace loved, she loved soup, so she was in heaven. Empanadas, we love Colombian empanadas. Arepas. The arepas were a little bit different than the ones in Cartagena, right? Cartagena's arepas are usually stuffed with eggs inside or cheese. The arepas here usually come with a piece of cheese on top, right? And that's it. And it's just the actual arepa, which is cornmeal cakes. But still very good, just a little bit different.
How about the fruits?
The fruits were amazing. I love fruits, so I was in heaven. They had a lot of guanábana. I don't know how to call that in English.
Guanábana? Yeah, I don't know. It's an exotic fruit, so
very good and so cheap. Again, you can go around the cities or the little towns, and they sell the fruit cups for less than $2 sometimes $1. So very, very affordable. So
yeah. So what are some of your favorite dishes over there in Colombia?
Buñuelos.
Buñuelos, okay. Buñuelos are basically the fried dough balls, which we ate a lot. I think I mentioned in one of my videos, I think I ate like over 2 pounds of buñuelos. So those are definitely delicious.
They serve them for breakfast, and there's so many local panaderias, which are bakeries, and they all have somebody making buñuelos on the spot. So you could see them. They're tiny little balls, sometimes big, and they're freshly made. Sometimes they have cheese inside. That was definitely one of our favorite things. Something else is pan de bono, which is cheese bread made from corn flour and cheese. Like I said,
Colombians love cheese,
and they love bread. So there's bakeries everywhere.
Yes.
So tamales, which is corn dough filled with meat, vegetables, and spices. You tried one.
The humongous tamal that I showed on the video, which was like the size of my face, and it had literally a rib inside. It had a quarter chicken.
Yeah.
It had other things that I can't even remember. It was insane. Super, super hefty meal.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good.
It's a little bit different than the tamal that we're used to. We're Cuban. So the taste was not the same as our tamal, but still very good and impressive that they can fit so many things inside those tamales.
Rice too. They had a ton of rice.
It was like
a full meal. An explosion of a meal inside of another meal. It was crazy.
And something else that was really good was the fruit juices. The juices are so good. I know that our stomachs suffer a little bit on these trips. So when we would get to some bakeries, I would ask that they do my juice using water, bottled water, okay? Because it's happened in the past that I do love to try these juices, and then I get very sick after. So that's a tip, right?
Because they're using the tap water. Yeah. They're mixing it with the tap water, and then that's where our stomachs are not used to that water, and That happens.
Yeah. So just a little tip: they can charge you for the bottle of water, and then just ask them to make you your juice using bottled water. So.
Awesome. What are some tips for avoiding travelers' diarrhea in Colombia? The word nobody wants to hear, but it's the reality that everybody gets it. Okay, this is just part of the trip.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, it doesn't mean because you get travelers' diarrhea, you're eating something that's.
I had travelers' diarrhea in England. Okay, so this is just not something that you think it's only like.
In Central America or South America.
It could happen anywhere.
No, it's everywhere.
Okay?
And it happens to us almost every trip.
So drink bottled or filtered water. Avoid ice in the drinks unless you're sure it's made with purified water, which most of the times the ice is not. So we just always stick to bottled water. And sometimes we'll have a smoothie with milk, or like I said, asking them to use bottled water for the fruit juices if possible. And
that's something you can't avoid, unfortunately. That's just part of eating that local cuisine. It's something you need to experience. If you get it, it's okay. It's not going to kill you. It's not like you're eating raw food or food that's uncooked or food that was bad from a day ago.
Use your common sense too,
It's just your body experiencing new food, the way they make the food, all the ingredients and all that. It's something new to your body, and it's processing it, a different way, and that's why you have traveler's diarrhea. So that's completely normal. Okay?
But if you can avoid it by making smart choices, definitely.
I don't know. We can't avoid it. It happens to us every trip.
I know.
So, but
something always gets us.
Yeah.
Okay, if you do not know Spanish, what app do you use?
Super easy. Google Translate.
Can't go wrong with Google.
You can't go wrong with
Google Maps,
Translate.
Google Translate, Google everything.
Yes, Google everything.
Okay, what is the best time of the year to visit Colombia? You want to answer that one?
Yeah, for the coastal regions, you visit from December to April. That's the dry season. And I think it's the same thing for the Andean, Medellin and Bogota. You want to visit during December to March. We were there in February. It was amazing. It still rained because in certain areas it's always going to rain. But it's the dry season. It rains the least. And also from July to August. From July to August is the rainy season. In the Andean region, the Medellin and Bogota. So you kind of want to avoid that time of the year because you have a lot going on, the rain.
We're driving through the mountains.
Yeah, definitely slows you down a lot more.
Yeah.
What outdoor activities are popular in Colombia?
Okay, so hiking and trekking. So comfortable shoes, like we said before. You can explore the Andes, the Cocora Valley. Amazing. Like a whole day thing. What else? Tayrona National Park and the Lost City. Something else that Mr. Yandro over here did was paragliding.
Yeah, awesome experience.
Yeah, incredibly affordable, safe.
$55 to paraglide. You can't beat that. I think here in the States you pay like $200-$300 just to paraglide off of anywhere. Yeah. So for $50, you have to do it, guys. Yeah, like it's worth it, and it's absolutely incredible. The views are out of this world.
Always check the reviews for the company you're choosing. You know? Most of them have amazing reviews, so it's very safe. Rafting and kayaking. Experience the rapids of Rio Magdalena or Rio Fonce in San Gil. So we didn't get to do the rafting and kayaking, but next time. Bird watching. Colombia is a top destination for bird watching, with hotspots like Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta and Los Nevados National Park. And not just these places. We stayed... where was it?
In Pereira.
Pereira. From our Airbnb, you could see so many birds, like different species, colors. You could hear them in the morning, in the afternoon. It was an amazing experience. Yeah. So that area of the coffee region is just pure magic when it comes to birds.
Yes.
And many other things.
Some important emergency numbers in Colombia.
Something you may want to just add to your notes on your phone, just in case. Hopefully you won't need to use any, but
hopefully not.
Police is 123, medical emergency 125, fire department 119, tourist police 337-4413.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they have a tourist police number.
Yeah.
So if you're getting scammed or whatever, I guess call the tourist.
Police.
I don't know if they're gonna care, but hey, there's a number for it. So yeah, at least they take note of that.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, what was your favorite part of the trip to end this Q&A?
Oh man, that's hard. Why don't you answer first? What I think.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna answer it. My favorite part of the trip was driving to the coffee region and getting to see the Cocora Valley in Salento. it was magical. Like, I just got chills. I'm not even kidding. It's such a beautiful, incredible place. Just be able to sit down and breathe that air, that natural air of the Andean mountains. The palm trees are absolutely incredible. You have wild horses there. It's such a magical place. It's one of the most beautiful places, at least that we've ever seen, and it's 100% worth visiting. Like, if you visit the coffee region and you don't visit this place, you are completely missing out. So definitely, that was my favorite part of the trip. You can hike, you can do a lot of activities there. You can ride horses. There's so many things to do. The people are so nice. So definitely, that was my favorite part of the trip.
So my favorite part of the trip was the Salento experience, which Salento is a little town that you go to go to the Cocora Valley. So I think it ties. We stayed in this amazing Airbnb that just felt like pure Colombia magic. So waking up at that Airbnb with the rain, it rained one morning that we were there, and then going out and exploring this colorful little town, visiting the Cocora Valley, for sure that was the highlight of the trip. I mean, I also loved Medellin. I loved
Comuna
13. That was so fun. It was so light. It was...
It's a party scene.
Fun.
It's a fun place to go to, even with kids.
Yeah,
it's a great place to go, and you feel super safe.
It felt
it's not the prettiest place. When you first get there, it's kind of a little sketchy, but it's such an awesome place.
And we did that without a tour guide, which most people do it with a tour guide, but it was fine.
You don't need a tour guide.
You don't. You walk around, you listen to music, you eat food. Just kind of take in the vibes. It's a very vibey place. But I also love that part of the trip. But for sure, my favorite part was Salento and the Cocora Valley as well. So
yes. Yeah. So with all that said, thank you for watching our Colombia Q&A. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you take a lot of these answers, for your future trip to Colombia. We definitely recommend Colombia, and we'll probably be back maybe in a different region. And it was an amazing trip. We definitely
and feel free to add any other questions that you may have in the comments, and we'll gladly answer them.
Yeah, just write a comment if you have any other questions, and we'll try to answer them. So with that said, if you like this video, always comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching Traveling with the Recios. Bye.